can see all the stars as you walk along Hollywood Boulevard.
It's that time of the year again. While we won't be strolling on Hollywood Boulevard, we will be strolling along West Street and Main Street in Annapolis for the 11th Annual Annapolis Film Festival. From March 23rd to the 26th, you can enjoy more than 70 films, Q&A sessions with filmmakers, panels, coffee chats, and yes, plenty of parties.
I wish my life was a non-stop Hollywood movie.
Tickets and passes are on sale now at AnnapolisFilmFestival.org. But right now, we're going to give you a taste of things to come as we interview directors and producers of some of the hottest movies on the slate. Well, the Annapolis Film Festival is rolling into town March 23rd to the 26th. You can get passes and tickets at AnnapolisFilmFestival.org. And all for the past month, we've been speaking with directors and producers and the big shots that make the movies that are coming here. And today is no exception. We're talking with Joanna Gleason, who is the director of a film that's going to be here at the Annapolis Film Festival called The Grotto. How are you, Joanna?
I'm really good. Thank you so much. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing well. I'll tell you, first things first, 2 dates you need to put on your calendar. We'll just put one of these 2 dates on your calendar. But Friday, March 24th at 7 p.m. at Maryland Hall in the Main Theater, or Saturday, March 25th at 10 a.m. at Maryland Hall in the Bowen Theater. That is where you're going to be able to see The Grotto, which looks like I'm trying to decide whether it's a deep, dark, not dark, but a deep, dark kind of thing, or I should be laughing at it. But the story, the plot line is that a fiance dies unexpectedly and a woman inherits half ownership of The Grotto, which I got to say, I don't know whether I'm disappointed or not, because I thought it was going to be like some biopic on Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Club with a name like The Grotto.
No, thank you. Not that grotto.
Pleasantly surprised. But she inherits this grotto, which is a desert nightclub that's seen better times, and she's trying to figure it all out, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. I have to just tell you one thing. This movie is showing at the festival at the Maryland Hall. My mother's name was Marilyn Hall. So every time you say that, I get a little warm feeling of like, oh, Mom, because she was very much a presence. She had already passed when I made the movie, but she was very much a part of making this movie for me.
Let's stop a little bit and get your background. I mean, 'cause your background is not in directing movies. You are a Tony Award-winning actor, from Into the Woods of Stephen Sondheim's show on Broadway. We're in Heartburn, Hannah and Her Sisters, and a handful of other films. Did some TV. Your father is one of my icons. I think there's four in the game show. Monty Hall. And I'll say it's Hall, Barker, Trebek, and Sajak. That's the four. Now you're directing The Grotto.
I wrote and directed it, yes. I mean, I had been encouraged to write and to direct with some of the greats for whom I had worked as an actor. With Mike Nichols was the first person to say you should be directing. And Diane English, who created Murphy Brown and a TV show that I was on called Love and War, she actually had me direct some episodes for CBS. So with this kind of encouragement, it just was about the voice in my head saying, well, am I good enough? Should I try this? You know, who do you think you are? I mean, all the things we do to avoid carving out new territory when we're comfortable where we are. And then I just kind of hit a moment where I said, no, there are stories I want to tell. And I know I can do this. And a lot of people said, we believe in it too, and jumped on board. And by some miracle, although it took years for The Grotto, for me to actually keep pushing it instead of being shy about it, when it came together fast and with an amazing group of people.
Well, do you think that your acting chops, and I mean, these go back, many, many years, but do you think the acting chops certainly gave you a leg up on the directing aspect?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, absolutely, definitely. And from my own experience, I have worked with directors who were formerly or currently actors, and they're the best because we know how to talk to each other. And we know how to create an atmosphere where everybody brings you their best idea. That's not just about the actors. It's about all the department heads. And when that atmosphere is fostered, then magic happens. The great things happen, and you have, for all the hard work and the difficulties, you have a really pretty good time, and we did.
Making a film sounds like so much fun. I mean, it sounds like a hell of a lot of work, but it also sounds like fun.
It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work in a very short time with not enough money, and that's kind of like that's the law going in. Now we were blessed. We had a woman named Laura Sudrow, who's a producer. She's Ouroboros Entertainment. Laura, I was introduced to just by chance by a neighbor friend of mine because Laura lived a couple of miles away, and we had coffee. And then we said, and I never mentioned the movie, but I knew she was now producing. Boom, the pandemic happens. Nobody talks to anybody for a year. So like a year and a half later, I said, are you are you accepting submissions? I wrote a movie. She just sent it to me. I sent it to her, and I thought, nobody will read it. It will lie there for months, and sometime in the future, I'll just give a gentle nudge. 2 days later, she called me and she said, let's get together. And from the moment we got together, she said, I'm in. And that, I have to tell you, John, I think that never happens. When you see the movie, there are little miracles all through it. And the fact that this thing came together this way was another miracle.
Well, I do think there's karma at work in the universe, that when things are supposed to happen, they do happen. And for whatever reason, and maybe 2018 wasn't the time for it to happen, but 2022 certainly was. Exactly.
And yes, and sometimes you shouldn't judge what's happening. You just have to see that this was inevitably what had to happen to the next thing. I mean, it makes you, the older I get, the more philosophical I got. I could just take my dad's words, and every time I go to him and say, oh my God, can you believe this is happening? And he'd say, it's a blip. And I thought, yeah, okay. It's not a blip while you're living in it, Dad. He goes, no.
Dad has great advice. Listen to Dad. He always has the great advice. That's for sure.
He was the greatest. He and Mom were just the greatest.
That's right. Well, you wrote The Grotto. Where did the plot line come from? Where did this all come from? Deep in the depths of Joanna Gleason's head.
Yeah, my own life at 40 looked from the outside as if it were all put together, shiny, career, things were happening, Into the Woods had happened, and I had this great son, and I had this great reputation, but I was not grounded. I did not have a partner. I had been divorced at that time. I was alone. I was adrift. I just realized I was living up to everybody else's expectations of me, and I thought, geez, I'm 40. When do you put your feet down and make the life you want? And who are going to be the people in it? And from that, I started to think about a woman who loses everything, Alice, in my story, and what do you listen to, or how brave are you going to be about just letting something guide you to your future? And that's what happens to her. Also, who are your people? Who are the people who are going to see you for who you are and not who they need you to be? And I just started to evolve this story. I love the desert. I love what happens when I've visited Palm Springs and Palm Desert when I used to live in California. There's kind of just a magic feeling, a connection to something. It's really an extraordinary place. So that's where the Grotto ends up being mostly set, out in the desert.
Interesting.
There's a special. The light is different, the air feels different, and you can almost hear the universe when you're there. So I thought that's a nice magical place to set this movie.
I would say it sounds like a coming-of-age film for just a slightly older age than most coming-of-age films.
You're exactly right. It's a coming-of-middle-age story. That used to be what I called it, a coming-of-middle-age story.
Well, I know in the description for the film festival, Pellier Chair said it was done in good part to the remembrance of friends that you've lost.
Yes. Another element of this, though it's not the driving force in it, is that the Grotto, in my mind, I thought, well, the Grotto at Lourdes in France is based on this story that a peasant girl saw a vision of the Virgin Mary, although nobody ever called it the Virgin Mary in the movie, The Song of Bernadette, or in my movie, but the lady in white. And the lady in white told this peasant girl in France, dig in this garbage dump. And up came this water. People drank the water and threw away their crutches, and the blind could see. If you Google Lourdes, 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 or the Grotto in Lourdes, you'll see a live stream. You can get a live stream of this rock grotto now they've put a statue of the Virgin Mary there and candles, and people are still coming to be healed. So I thought, what if the gay community back in the 90s, during which time I lost a lot of people close to me through the AIDS crisis. So I said, what if there were a nightclub called the Grotto where these people came just in the hope of a miracle and the hope of a cure, or just to be together and to laugh and to eat and to listen to music? And so I created this nightclub called the Grotto, and that's what it used to be. And now it's been a couple of decades, and the owner, it's going to seed, and it's fallen on hard times. And And what happens during the movie is less about Alice healing the grotto and bringing it back to life, but that the grotto actually does heal Alice.
I like that.
Good.
I like that. Now, and obviously Alice is you to a degree.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
sure.
you're not a bar owner, but it's
No, it's not even on my list.
Now, are you going to be here in Annapolis for a panel or a Q&A?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
Oh, I am. I'm coming in for the opening night, sort of, meet and greet and opening night ceremonies, and probably see the first film of the opening night, and then my film is up on Friday night, and I will be there for a Q&A afterwards. Yeah, and I'm going to be at the second showing the next morning, and I'll stick around for the director's roundtable.
Oh, that's awesome.
At noon, I think. Oh, yeah, I'm very excited, very thrilled that they chose the Grotto to be in this festival.
Well, as a first-time director, and this is your directorial debut, right?
In features, yes. I've directed in TV and theater, yeah.
But what do you hope to get out of a film festival as a director? What are you hoping to walk away and get back on the plane or train or mule or whatever it is that you came down here?
I will have been first of all, I have to tell you, seeing it. We were in another festival earlier this last year, and seeing it on the big screen for the first time. I've only ever seen it on a computer. Seeing it on a big screen in a theater with live people in the audience, was the biggest thrill. Just the biggest thrill. And I know I'm going to feel that way again.
That's awesome. I hate small screens. I hate that we live our life on small screens. And,
I know.
I've got so many friends that are like, well, why don't you just wait till it comes out on DVD or streaming and watch whatever latest theater. I said, because I like to sit in that. And then, well, now they have the fancy reclining leather seats in the theaters.
Yeah.
I'm like, there is nothing like when your seat vibrates. And I mean, I don't care how much I spend on a home theater system. I'm not going to get the experience of doing it. And I don't like the idea that I can sit there and just put pause while I make popcorn.
That's exactly right. Or get up to get something to eat. When you're in the theater, my movie felt bigger to me and more full. It felt fuller to me. So I was actually, it took my excitement. You as a director and the writer, you can look at it and go, oh, I wish I'd done that. Oh, why did I miss that? But that's been looking at it on a computer time after time, frame by frame. When I saw it for the first time, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again this weekend. And also, we used to, remember when we all used to have attention spans?
Yeah.
Because like this thing that's becoming extinct. When you go, that's right. You go to the movie or you go to live theater. We took 2 of our grandkids. We have 9 of them. We took the 2 oldest boys to see Harry Potter in New York City, way up in a balcony, like the 9th balcony up in just like cruising altitude, and they were transfixed. They didn't move, and it was there was one intermission, but it was a long afternoon, and I thought, good for them. Good for them. It's called attention span. Tell a story. Listen to a story.
Suck them in. Yeah, you suck the audience in, and you hold their attention. You keep them there. And the same thing. Yeah. I mean, and you know this. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but the same thing goes in theater. On stage. Yeah. With the exception of Nicholas Nickleby. I mean, there's not a.
That's right. That's right. But that we were drawn into that. I saw it back in like '81. When it came first over to the United States, I saw it. And the time just flew. When the storytelling's good, the time flies. If
by chance we do fall and break a leg and we miss seeing one of the 2 set showings here, and again, that's Friday, March 24th at 7 p.m. at Maryland Hall in the main theater, and then on Saturday at 10 a.m., just one flight down at the Bowen Theater at Maryland Hall. What are we looking at for the Grotto moving forward beyond Annapolis?
Yeah,
as if there is something beyond Annapolis, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Everything after that will be a big letdown. But there are a few more festivals lined up, which is exciting. And of course, the goal is to have it bought. You have a distributor or a streamer pick it up so that the whole world can see it, and that's our goal, and that's what we're heading toward.
Fantastic. Well, what's up next for Joanna Gleason? Do you have any projects in the work, directing or acting?
I do. Well, not acting so much, although I've done some pilots for HBO, and I'm going to be directing small production in Aspen over the summer, but I have a second feature, and I have people interested in already, very different from the Grotto. And what I'm hoping is to be able to talk to you a year from now, a year and a half from now, and you'll go, hey, remember we talked about the Grotto? And I go, nice to see you again, nice to hear you again.
We do. See, that's why I do all these podcasts, so I get the phone numbers of all these big big shots. Whether they eventually I mean someday I'm going to get a hold of a Steven Spielberg like 30 years before he's a Spielberg, and I'll be
right. I'm hoping to take a little less time than 30 years to get the next one done.
Well, what's the second feature about, or can you spill the beans at all, or tease it all?
All I will tell you is, once again, it's about a woman in her 40s, or now 50s. It's about a woman and looks around and there's been some tragedy, and there's kind of a mystery, not particularly a murder mystery, but could be. There's a mystery involving one of her kids, and then there's the journey of who are my people, who can I trust, who is going to be there for me, and what's this life I've been living, and it's got a little more plot twisty than the Grotto. It's much more dramatic. There's no look. The Grotto is, as you say, it's got tragedy and heartache in it, but it's also funny, and it's got music, live music. So it's a hybrid. You can't really call it a rom-com. You'd call it a drama.
Dramedy?
Dramedy with music and magic and lights, and I don't know. Yeah.
That's true. Well, I'll tell you, what we just heard there was a tease for Joanna Gleason's second feature film there. If you don't want to be teased, go see The Grotto, which is going to be premiering here in Annapolis Friday, March 24th at 7 p.m. at Maryland Hall and 10 a.m. at Maryland Hall on Saturday the 25th. One of the featured films that are going to be at the Annapolis Film Festival. Tickets and passes are still available. You can get them at annapolisfilmfestival.org. And I will be at the opening night party as well. And I will hunt you down and introduce myself, because I always love to put a face with a voice or a name.
Yes,
and,
it's fantastic.
And I can't wait to see The Grotto coming up this weekend.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing everybody.
Take care, Joanna. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You can see all the stars as you walk along Hollywood Boulevard.
Remember, passes and tickets for the Annapolis Film Festival are available right now at annapolisfilmfestival.org. I've got mine. Now you need to go get yours, and I'll see you at the movies.